Are you, at this time, you are sleeping?
What makes your heart sing? Is it travel? What have I told you my secret to traveling to over 135 different countries? Would you listen? Yeah, there's a secret. Could you do it? Yeah. Should you? Abso-freaking-lutely. Now, this is not a Facebook or an Instagram hustle. We know each other in real life. So, it's like knowledge between friends. First things first, let's get warm. So we're obviously, with a V, back in Amsterdam, and I'm literally all quarantined out. Got my PCR test back yesterday, negative. So my 10-day quarantine is now 5 days. It's the 5 days spent, hence this morning's walk. But geez, and call me old-fashioned, but travel is not what it used to be. God knows how many tests we had to take on trying to get out of the EU and into the UK for our 45-minute flight over the North Sea. But still, to see my dad's moves glow in the dark, worth it, worth every penny. But the real magic was, despite my granddad not there to be pajamaing away with us, was to see the whole crew together for the first time in 2 years in our uniform. Pure magic. And that was only possible because of travel. But it's definitely not what it used to be. But it is still possible. These Christmas trees.
The things that excite you are not random.
So whenever I talk to people about traveling or backpacking, sabbaticals, or even my walking project last year, it's generally met with a lot of enthusiasm and then quickly followed by, I'd love to have done that, or I wish I had the courage to do that. And my go-to reply is, you still can, or that you do have the courage, because it's true, they can and you do. The problem is more, how do I get started? Now, to give you some background on these videos, given that most of you know me, I think it's fair to say that if you think about it, you'll know that I'm not really that courageous. Well, not initially at new things. In fact, I'm overly cautious, especially at the start of anything new. So much so that I tend to avoid new experiences. But here's the bit though, when I've dipped my toe into an experience that I know I've already previously enjoyed, I go into a deep dive. And that's probably why I've collected so many border stamps. So I'm good at what I'm good at. But when I open up to people about this flaw in my thinking, or some failing in some old belief structure inside my head, I'm struck by how common it is. Fear. Fear is holding me back, it's holding you back, it's holding us all back. Not with travel, but with different elements of our life. That is to say that we all have areas of our lives where we say, I'd love to have done that, or I wish I had the courage to do that. But why is that? Why is it not the same for everybody? And why isn't it everywhere, in every part of a life, just in some parts? And so when I thought about it, I found myself wanting to share some of my experiences about something that I enjoy for two reasons. The first, so that maybe it will encourage you to pack your bags, or somebody to pack their bags and go on another adventure, or maybe even their first adventure. And secondly, because maybe it will encourage you to make some content about something you're good at, and that'll maybe help me with something that I'm scared of, or something that I fear. And am I going to tell you my fears? No. What am I, Dutch? Okay, maybe one day, but not today. So my goal is, over the next few morning walks around Amsterdam, is to not only show you the city, but I'll also share with you my process for traveling, big and small. I mean, right even before the planning stage, right the way through to when you touch down in country X, or to when you arrive back home safely. Because every time I've gone away, I've arrived home safely. Okay, let's go. Let's go! And while you can't walk 1,000 miles in a single trip, you can walk 1,000 miles in a year, but you have to decide that you want to do it. That's the first key. You've got to really decide and promise yourself that that's what you want to do. And then you break it down. Could you go for a 45-minute walk today, or tomorrow? Or maybe tomorrow's the first day. Could you go for a 20-minute walk before breakfast and another 20-minute walk after dinner tomorrow, and keep that up for the rest of the year? Because if you did, those 20 minutes will add up to about 1,000 miles at the end of the year. And if that's too much, maybe we need to realign the goal. Maybe 1,000 miles isn't the right target for you. Maybe it's 1,000 kilometers, and break that down. Could you do a 3K walk today before breakfast, or a 1.5 kilometer walk to the shops and back every day? The goal, however, is simply to start. Not one day, but today. Make today day one. So I know that this kind of content isn't for everybody. And as much as I would like it if you like, shared and or commented on these videos, I won't be offended if you unfollow, snooze or block, because it's not for everybody. So here's my moonshot.
Talking to the moon.
And so today's walk is all about getting started. While I was getting ready this morning for the walk, I found myself once again distracted by reels. Sitting there, sipping my coffee, watching reels. It's not a bitch, it's not a hate, it's just a lack of discipline. But the last one that came on that made me really think was one by Will Smith, where he talks about fault versus responsibility. And it's quite an interesting concept. If you haven't seen it, then the link's below or somewhere. The basic idea is about ownership, personal ownership about things that happen to you in your life. And it doesn't matter whose fault it was, it's your responsibility to own it and to shape it if it impacts on you, i.e. not to carry the baggage that isn't yours. It is your responsibility to deal with it, overcome it, and then move forward with it if it impacts on your life. And that really struck a nerve. Cool, huh? But here's the problem, as I've just been thinking about it. When Will Smith talks about fault, he creates a perpetrator, and that perpetrator is a person. And that's not always the case, because naturally there have been times in my life when there have been people to blame, but there are other parts of my life that are failing because I'm to blame. I can only blame myself. My past self? Okay, bear with me a second.
Wow, you must have a real nice camera. Yeah, that's a nice camera.
The idea of the past self only makes sense if you can see yourself as three people simultaneously in the exact same situation. That's the future self, the past self, and the present self. Okay, quick recap. These aren't my ideas, they go back thousands of years, but there's a really cool article on Reddit because it articulates it in a modern day terms that really made sense. Where the guy talks about no more 0 days. Nice Christmas tree.
The biggest lesson I learned this year is not to force anything. Conversations, friendships, attention, love, anything forced is just not worth fighting for.
No more 0 days. It's so good. So right now, as I think about Will Smith's fault versus responsibility, the three cells in relation to starting a new project, and I think about why and when I haven't started a project when I thought I wanted to, it's for three different reasons. Firstly, I didn't commit to it for long enough. Secondly, I didn't know how to get started. Or lastly, I didn't want it enough at that time in my life, and that was probably the most common. In essence, my past self wasn't willing to make the sacrifice for a future self, and so it never happened. Basically, it's all about sacrifice and aiming for what you want, but you've got to want it. More Christmas trees. So noisy, so noisy. Okay, quick point which is also worth making. So life expectancy in the UK is 81 years. At 36 and a half years old, I'm about 45% of my way through an 81-year life. That's quite scary. But if I imagine my life as a calendar year, then I'm about 151 days in. It's about the end of May. But for argument's sake, let's say the 1st of June. That's a bit more reassuring. So in the UK, by the 1st of June, I mean the best bits of the year are still yet to come. Summer, autumn, Christmas, all the good things. But also, it's all up to play for. And if you revert your mind back to when you were at school, then in August, you had an eternity of a summer holiday. I mean, talk about skipping to the good part.
Can we skip to the good part?
And then secondly, the months of June and July were super critical because in years 6, 11 and 13, these were the most transformative months of the entire year. It was either where you prepared to move to secondary school, you did your GCSEs to find out if you're going to be doing A-levels, or you did your A-levels to find out which university you're going to be going to or not going to. What happened in that exam room in June and July determined the rest of your life. That's a noisy truck. That was a good point. What happened in that exam room in June and July was literally going to dictate the next few years, if not the rest of your life. It was big. It was huge. It was huge. It's coming. Look at that. Wow. 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 Anyway, that's because by September you were going to be living an utterly, completely different life to what you had then. So different, fundamentally different. You were going to be a new you, but you had to make the sacrifice. You had to do the revision. Oh mate, that sky, sunrise over sunset every day.
My personality confuses people. I enjoy being alone a lot, but I'm also outgoing and social.
Sunrise over sunset every morning, every day. And that was a sunrise. Woo! It's a bit cold though. But back to my story. I've forgotten where I was. Somewhere about how life changes. The point I was making just before sunrise, because that was a night sunrise, was that as you get older, that eternity of the summer holiday disappears and August becomes like an empty set of days, where at the end of it, all you have to mark the occasion is another paycheck. The same paycheck you got last month, the same paycheck you get next month. It's just money, it's so transactional. But the reality is, those 6 weeks, those summer holidays can still be transformative, but your past self hasn't necessarily put you in the best position for your future goals. And that's okay. Your present self can make a change. Yes, you this morning, if you wanted to. This is because you can see your previous mistakes, you can see the trajectory that you're on, and you can see what happens if you don't make a change. Just think about something you could have done a couple of years ago. If you just made that one change, how your life might be that little bit different, and how if you don't make a change and you think about it, you're likely to be in the same position you are in now in 5 years' time. Is that what you want? And the best way to change your future is to change your past. But there are no big changes, just tiny marginal changes which add up. The first one is to change your one-day attitude. Make today day one. It doesn't have to be huge either, but by making that one decision, by making that one imprint on that new project, on that new goal, you change your future, and that's pretty cool. And if you continue to change your future by little bits every day, it really does add up. I forgot my hand warmer, but I thought I had my gloves on. So painful. So while the sun is well and truly up, it's actually got colder, my hands haven't yet warmed up. But if I was thinking about my next adventure to somewhere warmer, the first set of questions I'd ask myself would be, where do I want to go? Why do I want to go there? How much time do I need there? How much will it cost to get there? And how much do I need when I'm there? And then next to those things, I look at my current life and work out what I'm prepared to sacrifice to get them.